So for our light efficient design new product announcement, some of this may have been leaked a little bit to some people. If you want to jump ahead, and but for most of you guys, I hope this is brand new information. We're really excited about this product. If you can hit a couple slides there to advance. And the new product announcement is the new Filament Style Retrofits from the Light Efficient Design brand. We are very excited about this product. There's been a lot of interest out in the market, so we're excited to be able to offer it to our partners throughout the channel. So a really neat product, and really what this is ideal for is, you know, kind of what you see off on the left there, but a decorative style post-top fixture that has that glass lens. So if you think about this product, where it's going to just be a lot more aesthetically pleasing to the eye, because you won't see the diodes necessarily. If that post-op was more of a frosted lens, you know, it wouldn't be any problem. But so this is just a better aesthetic look. It is certainly rated for enclosed fixtures. We do have 4 different models, and they range from replacing 150 watt HID all the way up to 320 watt HID. Are we the first ones to come to market with this product? We are not. We've got just a few competitors in this space. In fact, one has a claimed 400 watt replacement. However, just to present some facts to you guys, our 320 is 10,000 lumens, and their 400 is 11,000 lumens. Now, we didn't feel comfortable going up to 400 or stating 400 watts. And part of that is our classic post-top retrofit, the LED 8027, which replaces 400, puts out over 14,000 lumens. So just so you guys are, you know, comparing out there, it's always good to compare lumens to lumens. But really great. You know, it also gives that end user and that maintenance person just, you know, kind of that comfort that this mimics the style or the look of that traditional HID lamp that they have in that fixture. On the next slide, I got kind of some specs that I wanted to go over with you guys. So this is a 5-year warranty product. One of our competitors does have a 3-year warranty product. They claim theirs is 3 years. So we do have 5 years on this. This is multi-volt 120 through 277. Our cut sheets as of late do mention that it's works on 208 or 240, because that question still does get asked. The lowest lumen output model, the LED 8061, is medium base, and then the other 3 models are mogul base. And with those mogul base comes the option to have DLC. So DLC still only recognizes mogul base retrofit lamps. So most of them already have the official DLC listing. And then the 8064 should be any day now. Again, enclosed fixture rated. One difference between these outside of the look compared to our traditional, you know, post tops or corn cobs is the operating temperature. So these are rated up to 113 degrees Fahrenheit, where our traditional lamps are rated up to 122. So a little bit of a slight difference, but still going to be safe in most places. And then one thing that I think we've done better than the other 3 competitors that are out there with this is we've really consolidated to, you know, give the market what they need as far as the common replacement wattages that are in those type of fixtures that I showed on the last slide, but also color temperature. So kind of in the middle there, but under color, we're offering 2200 Kelvin, which is kind of new for us, 4000 K and 5000 K. And just to kind of work backwards there, you know, even though we've gone to flex color, we still have most of our demand in 5000 K. For whatever reason, end users, they just like that bright white LED color. 4000 K is great because that really mimics what a traditional metal halide color temperature is, typically 4100 Kelvin. So right there. And then 2200 K is great for matching high pressure sodium. So think about some of those neighborhoods that have that warm orange glow, and those neighborhoods might not be so keen or critical of the true lighting quality that they're getting from that high pressure sodium, but they like that ambiance that warm orange glow offers. So we are now offering that within these lamps. So these are, we do have some inventory in stock today. We've got a big shipment that's due in just a month. For our reps on the call, you guys will be getting a Eddy launch kit, part of our new product launch series this year. So be on the lookout for more information on that. But really excited about this. This product is now live on our website as well. So go ahead and check it out. But that's what I've got for light efficient design update. So next I'll pass it over to our Director of Solar, Chris Pickering, to take it away.
All right, Doug,
Thank you,
thanks so much. So we've teased this a little bit over the last couple of months, and we've done some sample projects with a few of you reps on the phone here, but we're pleased to say that we're going to fully commercialize and fully launch our solar lighting pole program. So we can go ahead to the next slide, please. So why are we getting involved with poles? Well, the biggest reason is because most of the solar lighting projects that you and your customers are working on are in newly lit spaces, so there aren't existing poles for us to utilize to hang a solar fixture. It's a required accessory on almost 80% of our project orders, and most of our customers don't have a preferred pole supplier today, or in some cases, they prefer to be able to put the fixtures and the poles on a single PO for project management purposes. So what we've done is worked out an OEM supply deal with a major pole manufacturer in the US. We're going to have a very carefully curated selection of poles that are selected so that they can withstand the weight and withstand the EPA of the solar fixtures that will be put onto them. So it's going to be a small selection of poles, but one that is appropriate for the types of projects that most of you will be working on. If you can take a look at the next slide, you'll see some examples of, you'll see this is a very limited pole offering, but we're going to have offerings in both anchor base and direct burial or embedded poles. We'll have round and square, straight and tapered, so that you have a good selection of different poles depending on the application and the type of product that you'll be using it with. Just so you know, we're going to have a minimum order quantity of 3 pieces. So this is intended for project-oriented work, not intended for, onesie-twosie type operation. And it's going to have a different freight minimum from what your normal freight minimum is with light efficient design. The reason for that is that these are not going to be stocked by us. They're going to be drop shipped directly to the job site or directly to the distributor or contractor location from our supplier. And so the prepaid freight minimum is $3,500. And again, the minimum order size is 3 pieces. So typical lead times, we're going to be about 6 weeks for standard straight steel poles. If you need to get painted or galvanized, it will be about 8 weeks. And then if you need an aluminum, you need a composite, you need any other special servicing of that pole, will be about 10 to 12 weeks. We'll be processing our pole orders exclusively through our projects team. So you're going to want to send those pole orders or orders that have poles on them to projects@led-llc.com, and they'll be able to walk you through the process. The program is being launched in March, so we'll have a small spec sheet available, and then these will be added to the price sheet that is coming out in March. And you'll be able to go ahead and get those onto your quotes to extend your revenue on that order and also make it easier for your customers to get everything they need in a one-stop shop. So look out for that to be coming out to you from your regional sales manager or from our marketing department sometime in the first couple of weeks of March.
So I guess that's Chris, is you wrapped up?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. There were a few questions. I assume that maybe we can capture those in the chat.
Yeah, we'll get them in the chat.
Okay. Do you want to do that? Oh, you need to take off. So we do that now or at the end? We can do it at the end.
Yep.
Okay. There's a lot of questions. So Doug, I just want to make sure that you're capturing some of those so I think we can answer them towards the end of the webinar.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Well, firstly, it's great to see that much poll questions. I think that's fantastic. Something we felt that we've wanted for some time. Also, I've already received a couple of texts about the corn cobs that Doug announced earlier. So I'm glad to see that enthusiasm. So the rest of the webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about lighting controls. It's something that we've been working on developing now for a couple of years. And really in the last year, we've done a lot of installations in the market with rep agent partners and with our own team helping contractors and other manufacturer reps develop lighting control projects. You can probably go to the next slide. There we go. So here's kind of the discussion points of what we're going to cover. We set this up to be like, if you don't know a lot about lighting controls, we're going to cover some basics. If you know quite a bit about lighting controls, I think there's some stuff in there for you, and we'll talk a little bit about our direction and our approach, which will help you position our control systems in the market. I'm going to handle kind of the front end bullets here, and then I'm going to turn it over to Nick to talk about the software in more detail and parts and pieces. Thank you. Let's start with the simplest lighting concepts. So why lighting controls? Personally, if you go and you show up at a client and you say, hey, I can save you money, install lighting controls, that might not be enough to really tickle along the sale. So we want to make sure that you have some talking points and that you put some considerations into their minds about why we need to be doing this. So the very simplest, if you've ever been to New York City and you look out at buildings at night, you'll see one janitor and an entire floor of lights on. That's not efficient. So automatically turning off the lights, that's a very basic thing. And I think it's important to identify those situations. You can reduce light levels. So if like you're a computer user, usually you don't want the lights cranked. So in your computer area locations or within those departments, you can adjust down the lighting levels. If there's a situation where people need to read a lot of paper-based text, you probably want those lighting levels elevated. And oh, by the way, if you've ever worked for a large company, they move those cubicles around all the time. You can then recondition those spaces into other useful activities. You can group lights together. And if you've ever attended any of the trainings we do in Cary or in Middleton, I talk a lot about using lighting for security, simply that if in the back corner of the building, the lights are ramped up, that means somebody's back there, right? There's activity in that space. So it becomes an awareness item. So a lot of very simple things you can do with lighting control, but there's also some pretty cool advanced concepts, which is the cue. There we go, to turn the slide. So firstly, for advanced concepts, we've been talking a lot with building owners, management, property maintenance, property owners. They've been very active here lately in moving around their building portfolios, buying, selling, putting them together into bundles and selling. And when you can make their building perform at a better return on investment, it helps them. So be thinking about your customer and who you're talking to, and to speak to being able to make their building more profitable for them. The other thing that you've been probably seeing a lot of is carbon reduction goals, CO2 reduction goals. And just about every corporation, every business has somewhere, and sometimes that guy that you got to talk to is living in the back corner in a cubicle somewhere, but they have carbon reduction goals to be carbon neutral. And this plays, being energy efficient or super energy efficient, plays into those goals. I mentioned adjusting spaces by task. There is also instances where you can run those lights at a lower heat level, and then we all know intuitively that LEDs like it a little cooler than warmer. So when you when you're running that fixture at a lower light level, you're still creating less heat, even if it's an LED application. So for people that are worried about the long-term longevity, this is something you can address with a lighting control system. You can adjust lights for occupancy. Again, like I mentioned, some people just like it dark. You can adjust those areas. And the other thing with Remphos, we have flex color on virtually the entire line, which means you can also repurpose the space with color temperature changes, as you know, by flipping the switch. So a lot of things to make creature comforts a little bit better for the occupants of the space. And the other advanced lighting concept, and you're all over this if you live in the New York City area, or if you live in California, and there are more states getting involved with making more stringent per square foot energy requirements. Title 24 in California, the local laws in New York City all play into reasons why you should have improved lighting control in your space. You can go to the next slide. Here we go. Then the other thing, which is a little more subtle, boy, outlawing of fluorescence is happening everywhere. So when you find, we're professional retrofitters for the most part here at Light Efficient Design. So when you're thinking about our brands and you're talking to our customers and your customers, they need to update away from fluorescent, and why not layer in lighting control as part of that overall upgrade to modernize their facility. The other thing that's kind of interesting, and DLC Design Lights Consortium has been all over this for a number of years now, the advancements around efficiency of LED diodes really haven't moved very much, nor do we expect them to get significantly better anytime soon. So if you're going back and re-looking at old LED installations that are now time to be renewed, you can use lighting controls to further drive down those savings. So you get that initial savings of LED, and then you get an initial bump, another bump, by driving down the cost of operation of the building. The other thing which I think is fascinating, and we have I know a number of manufacturer reps looking at this as well, is integrating HVAC. And if you go to Design Lights Consortium, you can see a few white papers that they have where you now can walk, where they're pushing the idea, and it exists, where you walk into space, the lighting sees you, and then it operates the chiller or the heater or the air recovery unit within the space. So now beginning to talk more across lighting measures or platforms based on lighting. You can go next slide there. So I promised early on, we talked a little bit about a few questions that you might get when you walk in and talk to a customer. The first one, if they are familiar with DLC and DLC initiatives and they have rebates, sometimes they might even if they don't have rebates, DLC does an awful lot of measurement of different types of systems and controls and set standards around it. So even if you're in an area where you don't get rebate money and incentives on DLC, you still might be asked a question. So yes, our DLC system is DLC qualified. And I've been looking at every year right around January, early February, most of the utilities that offer rebates do their updating for the next year. And so I've been seeing all these utility rebate incentives from around the country dropping in. And it's amazing, like in New England, you can't get a rebate anymore just on a standalone fixture. It's fixture and controls. So that gives you some, and it gives you some bigger numbers in terms of getting money back. So creating that return on investment gets easier in those markets, but with lighting control in non-incentive markets, you can still create a pretty positive ROI to help bring lighting controls into the space. You can go. The other question you may get asked is a lighting control system safe? Can it be hacked? And you'll get asked that question a lot because sometimes a lighting control system needs to overlay their information technology department. So you can go Google it. In fact, Nick and I, when we were prepping for this conversation, we're both Googling online and we were finding a lot of the same things. I think you can see some JCPenney history with something that they had done. MIT, Harvard, their kids can hack systems. There's a lot of information about it, but I will say a couple of things you might want to be aware of is there's a system called Zigbee out there. That's 25-year-old or more architecture. In fact, when I first started in the business, and I was doing wired control systems, we would come across Zigbee many, many years ago. And it's still all built primarily off that same infrastructure. There are some control systems that use common standard broadcasts on Wi-Fi. That's not a great idea. Not only does it mess with your overall Wi-Fi network, but there are ways to get into the system from that. The system that we use, Silvair, and we'll talk a little bit more about Silvair in a few minutes, is called a qualified low energy Bluetooth mesh. It's very advanced, very up to date, using some of the newest standards around a Bluetooth derivative. If you find yourself in that situation where you have to talk about control, safety, and security, please raise your hand and come back to us at the factory. We can help guide you through that. There are white papers out there. Through our contacts, we can help you position that. And Ireland, if you hit the next slide, we can hit just a few things here. I'm not going to delve into any of these in real detail. There's also some additional things around denial of service, all sorts of other types of standard hacks. But this is really important to some people. Some people will say, oh yeah, if Light Efficient Design Remphos has come out with a system, they've done their homework and found all the right partners, and maybe it's a non-issue. But for some reason, if it is, please come back to us and we can help you through the details that you need to be successful. Then here's couple more questions. Generally speaking, how does qualified Bluetooth mesh work? Bluetooth mesh is a decentralized control system, meaning you can kind of see that on the right bouncing around on the screen there. So those are little blobs there are all lighting fixtures. So if one of those fixtures picks up somebody coming into the space, it will broadcast to any number of fixtures within that group. And in fact, it can even go through a fixture that's not a part of that group to turn on a series of lights. And actually, in a little bit, Nick's going to show you some examples. If for some reason a light fixture is not functioning or a sensor is not functioning, it will just go a different direction to pass the signal through. So it gives you a lot of redundancy, which I think is important. So that's kind of a very generalization of Bluetooth mesh. Again, going in depth is probably a class in and of itself. We're happy to go there if for some reason we need to have those discussions with your customers. And then the other common question is, Remphos is a pretty cool company. Did we write the software? And the answer is no. Our approach has been primarily to go out and find best of class software in the market, people and companies that work well with us and that we can partner with, that are responsive to our needs and our customers' needs. And we, just similar to like what we did with Breeze EV, we went out and got AMP Up, and we have some other packages that we've since vetted. We're doing the same thing with Silvair. We think that they're a fantastic partner. You can go to the next question. How does this whole thing get supported? That's a very fair question, and you will be asked. So we really want to train as many of you that feel comfortable with doing some basics setup of lighting control. We want to find your customers, and we can help train them. We would like to have people in the market that are understanding Silvair, understand lighting control systems, and can do their own simple commissioning. You can make a revenue stream off of that. If you don't know, if it's a massive project, we have people that know Silvair, and we can set up commissioning on their behalf to help you get through that. Or it all begins with, the first project. We've been working on coming up with a little curriculum of some technical stuff that we can do in Middleton. So you'll see that. Then the next part of that is we'll teach you how to create I told you, Ireland, one more thing. Then you can go to the next slide. How does it connect, and how does it design? So it begins with three basically concepts. The first one is you can set up on your own computer. You get in, you get a Silvair account. I think Nick might talk about that. You can pull in a customer floor diagram. In fact, I've even done one where I hand sketched a diagram and I fed it in. You just import it into the application and you can drop in your lighting zones. It's pretty cool. It's pretty easy. And once you set up the basics on your computer, you can use your Android or your Apple cell phone and go into that space and then further complete the design and installation. And again, one of the reasons why we picked Silvair is it has a lot of features, is pretty powerful, but it's not particularly difficult to use. And so we're going to encourage you to go out and work on securing this controls business. Work with us as a partner to help you get that in place. Pretty cool stuff. And I have one more comment before I flip it over to Nick, and that is Remphos forever has been controls agnostic. We still are. If you need, I don't know, Philips Signify EasySense, we can still partner with you and put their controls into our products because we are an OEM partner. But we really felt like we needed a product that we were experts in, that we could assist you in developing your skill set around lighting controls, which is important today, but is going to continue to be increasingly important as we continue to dig deeper into LED replacements and into upgrading old fluorescent systems. With that, Nick, I'll let you take over.
All right, great. So I wanted to just take a few minutes to kind of talk to you guys about the different common applications that we've seen. We've had a lot of these options out for about a year now, and there's been some specific applications that have come up as questions for everyone. So I wanted to kind of cover those a little bit. And you can see here, there's a list of them, but we're going to go over them one by one. We'll start out with kind of the most basic kind of system and then kind of go out to the most advanced. So I want to make sure you all know that it's definitely a very robust system, and it's easy to set up. It can be just a single switch and a fixture, or it can be all the way up to a full building system. So let's kick it off here with the first system. This is just a single room system. So basically this could be like a dorm room or any kind of a residential space where you need to have dimming on the fixture, but you don't necessarily need occupancy control. You don't want that fixture turning on in the middle of the night. The nice thing about this is all you really have to do is get power to the fixture and you're good. So right in this little system, we've got a drum, one of our drums up there with a Bluetooth wireless node in there, an NLC node up there. And then we've got a batteryless switch. So we have a couple of different options for those, but they are batteryless. They don't require any wires or anything. So you can just put them on the wall and they'll last for a very long time. We've got a couple of those out in our Middleton office right now that have been running for 5 years pretty consistently. And aside from turning them on and off, they've never really had to be touched. So they're a really cool system. If you haven't actually had a chance to play with one of these, I highly recommend getting one and maybe an LBI or something to try it out. But definitely really cool. So this system can be just two parts, just the control ready drum and the wireless switch, and then you pair them together in the software and you've got a nice little system. The next system that we have is a single node mini fixtures. So we would use this in an environment where the customer is really trying to save some money, but not necessarily having a lot of rebates. So if you're in an area that doesn't really rebate controls just yet, or you really want to maximize your cost savings on the actual project, you can start with a single fixture on one end of a long run and then link them all together through either our LBI system of linking or through the actual wiring that the electrician does. So in this situation, we have our dimming sensor or dimming switch. So any of the switches that we offer right there from either an Ocean or McWong, and those are able to be paired to a single fixture that's on one end. If you see, we've got a run of a few of the LBI Maxes right there. The Bluetooth symbol is the fixture with one actual control in it, and then the rest of them don't need to have anything done to them because they're already ready for control. As you know, with the LBI Max and LBI, they link together really easily and quickly, so you're able to daisy chain a few together. Most of these are right around 15 pieces or so you can put together. We have some control nodes that are capable of controlling a lot more than that. in this case, sorry, go back just a second. So in this situation, you'd want to make sure that you're kind of thinking about how the whole system is laid out, because you would want to have the switches within a reasonable range of the actual sensor itself. Right now in this current training room, we actually have the entire like LBI Max wall like lit up here that can actually be controlled by a switch that's on the opposite side of the room. So it's not really as big of an issue, but you just want to make sure it's within a reasonable range of the fixture itself. And then you can just link the fixtures down the run and control just a standard fixture. So when you order it, you'd order one of the Bluetooth fixtures, and then the rest of them could just be standard and they could link together. The next system that we want to look at is going to be a dual zone mesh network. This is a really common application we see out in classrooms. This will have a lot of different types of fixtures in them, and preferably, ours. But if you can see up in the ceiling there, we've got a few panels, and then those would actually be our TTV or TTFs. And in this situation, though, we're thinking them as a retrofit. So you can put an LBI up in that troffer and have one of our LBI Bluetooth sensors or nodes up in that troffer itself. And then for the downlights or the trim or the track lights that are by the presentation area there, we actually have it's a fixture level, or sorry, room level control is what we call that. That's a big box or a relay that can control a lot of power. This one's about 20 amps. And then it can have about 150 milliamps of sync, so it can control a ton of fixtures. In this situation, you're really just kind of shutting the track lights on and off unless they have that 0 to 10 volt dimming, which isn't really common, but you can at least shut them off when you're doing a presentation so that the board looks nice and bright, and then you can dim the fixtures down as well in the programming with the different sets. So one of the most important parts about this system is the 4-button switch. You're actually able to program different scenes and settings on those 4-button switches. So you can say, I want projector mode, and press the 1 button, it'll set it up the way that you configured it in the software. And then you can have, classroom or work mode where you can actually just have everything on and bright. There's even the possibility of having it set up so you can dim the fixtures themselves down and only have the track lights on if there's somebody presenting up there. So there's a lot of flexibility you can have with this system, but it gives you that dual zone dimming that a lot of classrooms look for. Like, for example, I know out in the world, there's a lot of these where they'll have 2 different ballasts in the system and then 2 different light switches on the wall, and they can adjust it. This is actually a great replacement for that system. So you can throw this in there in replacement of it, and they'll still be able to have their dual level control by having a button on the wall they can specifically select for the different levels. Both of our 4-button switches are capable of full range of dimming as well. So if they do want to just on the fly set the level in the system, they can absolutely do that. The next system we have is the fixture control only. So like this would be great for like a hallway or like a stairwell where you really don't want to have a switch involved. You don't want to have people pushing buttons or whatever. You want it completely autonomous. So it'll run and turn on as people enter the space and exit the space, it'll turn off. So in this case, we'd really want to use one of our fixtures with the actual node installed in it. Right here, you can see a picture of our LS series strip fixture with the OCBT sensor. So this is a microwave Bluetooth sensor that we put inside the fixture, and then that'll allow it to detect that motion in the space. And then it'll tell the other fixtures in that network, hey, I got a person on this floor or in this hallway. We're going to light it up so they feel comfortable walking down it, and it's nice and bright and nobody slips. So this is a really easy system because you can order these from us directly with the sensor installed, and they can be installed just as they are. You don't really have to do a ton aside from just connecting the actual Bluetooth lights together and making the little mesh that you have in your space. The next one, which comes up all the time because LBI is just so good at that cove lighting, is how do I convert an like a line voltage dimming or a phase dimming system over to our LBI or Bluetooth? So in this situation, you really want to have a space for the switch is going to go, and then you'll add the LBI with one of these controls up in the cove. You can see the 2 little Bluetooth indicators up there in the ceiling. And so what we've done is basically just have a run of LBIs depending on the length. I said it was about 15 or so. But if you have, obviously if you need more than that, you'd want to add nodes and use our no dim connectors so you can break up the different control zones. But in the actual software, you can group them together, so you won't have to worry about you know, the controls acting differently. It'll all act as the same, and then you have the one switch to actually control the entire system. So inside the wall, they would just bypass all the wires and bypass the dimmer that's in the wall and everything, and send that the lines just straight right up to the LBIs. And you know, like most of our products are all dim to off drivers, so the control will allow you to dim all the way to off and go to a very low energy consumption state. And because of LBI being so flexible, you got all kinds of different sizes to play with. And we have a couple different nodes that you can choose from that have sensors included. In this situation, you wouldn't really want to use sensors because there's not really a viewable space. So you want to use one of our non-censored control nodes. The last application I want to show you guys is one really big one that we did. Dave, you'll know this one, but this is a large office we did down here in Illinois. And one of the great things about this software is it allows you to be so flexible in the field that you can make adjustments to what you actually are doing. So in this situation, it's an administrative office. They have a lot of different cubicles and everything, and they wanted to be able to do adjustments based on daylight sensing. They wanted to be able to make adjustments based on specific cubicle areas. We had some people that had photosensitivity in those spaces. You can see kind of in that area there, we've got like cubicle dim 1, cubicle dim 3, another cubicle dim zone, where we basically set the fixture level to be at a certain tolerance. So it only goes up so bright in that space, so that the people that are in there that have photosensitivity can be accommodated. It's really easy to do. We were able to do it in the field pretty much on site and figure it out. The other thing too that we found out on this property, which sometimes happens, is there's a daylight harvesting zone that they may have you know, shutters up, and it just didn't work. So we were able to turn off the daylight harvesting in that space just because it wasn't really practical for what they were trying to do. But the great thing about this is that they were able to completely connect their entire building and see, you know, where everything is and what everything is doing, and have everything operate the same and really maximize that energy savings for the entire space. So now that we've kind of talked about some of the applications that we've seen and where we go, I want to make sure you guys are clear on our new strategy for showing all the sensors and how we actually integrate these things and you go about ordering them. So in our new catalog and our new price guide, as well as the spec sheets, you're going to be seeing an updated nomenclature that's going to kind of follow a strategy that we have to make things a little bit clearer for you guys. So to start off here, we got our LBI. You can see the little Bluetooth symbols next to the items that actually have Bluetooth. We also throw BLE in the name. And then in this situation, you'll see either a PIR for a PIR sensor or an OC for a microwave occupancy sensor. That's a new one for us this year, so look out for that one. These have been very successful, and they're really, really nice to be able to add into systems. We've used them in warehouses and you know, different, like this space one is a perfect example of having the actual PIR connections in the space. You can turn the fixtures on and off, and because it's that LBI connector, it's super easy to integrate in and just click in place. Not a lot of wiring to do at all. We've also tried to clarify some of the EM backups and stuff too with the LBI, just so it's a little bit more easy to know what parts we are kind of focusing on and where we're going. So to kind of follow that strategy, LBI Max. The difference with this one though is that this was actually a full fixture. You're going to get a finished fixture with the actual sensor and stuff integrated right into it. You know, the LBI itself has to have the inline connectors go, you know, in place because of the size and the shape and how that works. With the LBI Max being a little bit bigger, we're able to actually do like the sensor itself inside the housing, so it can be nice and clean and pretty. So, and this is going into that like many fixtures, one node configuration that we talked about, where you'd want to have just the one with the sensor, and then all the other ones would be standard fixtures. To the customer, they wouldn't even know it's in there, but you got a really smart system design. So in our actual layout here, we use OCBT for the microwave sensor controls, and then BT is just the standard node, which is no sensing, just control itself, and that's for those just single switch control situations you want. So our LIV-C, our stairwell vanity fixture, we do kind of something similar. We use the OCBT nomenclature to add the microwave sensor with the Bluetooth control. You can see the nice pretty Bluetooth signals there, or symbols there next to the nomenclature, so you know what this one has. This one, just like our LS series strip fixture, is all going to be internal inside the fixture itself, so that they'll actually be controlling it. And then we also have the single node as well as the basic occupancy sensors that we offer for the products. And just continuing on with this, you can see we're following a very similar strategy for naming and nomenclature and adding in. So here's our drums. You can definitely have those in there, and they make a really easy way to throw that sensor in there. And then onto the SRs and CRs. We're able to, you can flip that one, Ireland, thank you. The same kind of thing, we're able to actually add the sensor itself in onto the driver. We have a little spot where the sensor goes, and these Bluetooth nodes and network nodes are all able to just be integrated right into it and just sit right on the top of the fixture itself. So really easy to integrate from our side. They can also be added after the fact in the field if they like. Traffic transformer is by far one of the best ones that we have because it's a PIR. We also have one of the most unique sensor solutions out in the market right now because of how thin and clean it is. You know, it's probably one of the least penetrating into the ceiling, out of the ceiling plane that exists out there. You know, there's a lot of options out there that are, you know, they stick out of the lens, or they have like a box that kind of comes down out of the picture. This by far looks better than anything out there right now because all you really see is just the little PIR node sticking out of there. And if you end up using the BT configuration, you're not even seeing that. It's just the flat plate and the reset button on the side of the trim. So it looks real nice and clean. So that's the option for the traffic transformer. That's for both the TTV and TTF. Okay, so for our linear bar kits, we do it a little bit differently. So this has been kind of something that was a little bit confusing before, so we wanted to try and straighten it all out for you. Because these are actually separate parts and they're so configurable, you want to be able to actually order the individual sensors and controls separately. So we tried to make little, you know, guides to show you kind of what these things are doing, and put the actual part number in there of the different sensors and what they're doing. So for example, we've got our OCBT. You'll recognize that from the other names in the other systems. That's a microwave occupancy sensor that can be put inside the fixture. If you're looking at like the BTX or the BT, you're going to be seeing a similar situation where there's no sensing, it's just a single node. And just to kind of go back, we got our standard occupancy sensors that we've been offering for years that can be just put in there. So the way this works, you order your kit, your bar kit, and then you order the sensors and controls separately. Because a lot of the times when it comes to the field, we feel like the configurations are a little bit flexible. So sometimes they may, you know, have an 8-foot fixture with 4 lamps, 1 driver. That one needs 1 control, but they may in other areas be using a 6-foot fixture with 2 drivers and 6 lamps, and they want to just also order 1 control. So it just depends, very flexible. If you need help with that, Dan and I are absolutely available here to help you kind of get that configuration down right for what you need. Same thing with the Type C kits, very similar strategy because it's an external control, an external driver, and everything when we're putting it in. So very, very similar. And then we have a brand new catalog. I don't know if Doug wants to step in and talk about that, but we have a beautiful, beautiful new catalog with a bunch of amazing pictures and designs and application photos and everything. So make sure you get to check that out. We also have a digital version on the web, so feel free to check that one out too. And then the last thing I want to just mention is where you actually go to find Silvera. I feel like we you know, talk about how great this software is and how awesome it is, but how do you actually get to it? So we go to the App Store. You can download it through the App Store and with Apple or with the Google Play Store. So it is definitely on Apple and on Android. There's also a way to go to the commissioning platform right there. You can see platform.silvera.com, and that way you can actually gain a little bit more access to the project and kind of see some of the layouts and import pictures and do a little bit more like grouping in there as well. I included a couple of YouTube videos here for you guys to be able to get some commissioning in if you want to see how it's done and how it works. But obviously, if you have any questions, we're happy to help you and support you with that system. So